I was struck by what Larry Fink said this morning on CNBC. This is the head of BlackRock. The U.S. post-World War II was a global stabilizer. We are now a global destabilizer. Yes, I do believe we're probably starting, if not already, in a recession. This is not a pandemic. This is not a financial crisis. This is something we've created. And that's the trend line here, that smart people who create jobs, who are really rich, who have done well, who Donald Trump respects, know that what he is doing is about his own fantasies and not about the realities of the economics here. The dollar is weakening. People are dumping U.S. assets. They don't think that we're a good bet. And the American public, the lower classes that Scott Bessent is so concerned with, are losing their minds. Consumer sentiment dropped to its second lowest level since 1952 when they started recording this.
There are so many scandals, so many mistakes, and so many stupid decisions constantly coming out of the Trump administration. It is difficult to keep up with them all. But fortunately, and really unfortunately for us, they are constantly reminding the American people of just how bad at this that they are. And the clearest example of that comes with tariffs. A plan the Wall Street Journal dubbed the stupidest trade war in history. And Donald Trump is proving that out tenfold again, and again, and again, and specifically in his dealings, which there aren't any with China, which Carolyn Leavitt highlighted in a way that only she's able to. And by that, I mean stupidly and humiliating her boss in a mess of an interview that we are going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me now. Before we can get into what Leavitt had to say in this meltdown of an interview, of course, we need some unfortunate context from her boss right here.
Until they make a deal with us, that's what it's going to be. I think they'll make a deal at some point. China will. They want to make a deal. They really do. They want to make a deal. They just don't know how to get it started because they're proud people. China will now pay a big number to our Treasury. This is all taxes. And don't let them keep telling you that this is a tax on our people. I hate that. You know, they say it's a tax. No, often much of it is paid. And hey, look what happened during my first term.
He doesn't understand anything. And honestly, I love how upset he gets when confronted with the truth. Maybe I shouldn't say I love it, but I do. It really gets under his skin. I don't want them to sugarcoat it and say it's not a tax, because that's exactly what it is. And the thing about tariffs, and I know I'm repeating myself, but it has to be said, is that if there's one thing Republicans are usually good at, it's sticking to a single, consistent lie. What surprised me most this time is that they can't even manage that. The plan is so dysfunctional that while Donald Trump is calling it an attack, he's also admitting there will be pain. But the real mess? They can't even give a clear answer on what's going to happen with China, the biggest piece of the puzzle. And before we dive into Carolyn Leavitt's take, Jessica Tarlov actually had a prediction that turned out to be pretty spot on.
Leverage to take on Donald Trump?
Isn't the art of the deal that's just an opening gambit, right?
Okay.
We'll ease our way into that.
Yeah.
I think that China knows that there are tens of millions of Americans that own small businesses that rely on goods from China that are going to be completely bankrupted by these tariffs. And that's really what this is about. They can say what they want about Hollywood, but that's what it's going to come down to, that people need to be able to go, to Walmart and get the things that they want. And that's what the CEO of Walmart is saying. That's what people like Ken Langone is saying, calling what Trump's doing BS. This is someone who's a strong supporter of his. Ken Griffin as well. I was struck by what Larry Fink said this morning on CNBC. This is the head of BlackRock. The U.S. post-World War II was a global stabilizer. We are now a global destabilizer. Yes, I do believe we're probably starting, if not already, in a recession. This is not a pandemic. This is not a financial crisis. This is something we've created. And that's the trend line here, that smart people who create jobs, who are really rich, who have done well, who Donald Trump respects, know that what he's doing is about his own fantasies and not about the realities of the economics here. The dollar is weakening. People are dumping U.S. assets. They don't think that we're a good bet. And the American public, the lower classes that Scott Bessent is so concerned with, are losing their minds. Consumer sentiment dropped to its second lowest level since 1952 when they started recording this. Do you think that's a good thing, that the American public, who need to be able to get up and go to the grocery store and get that flat screen TV,
right,
if that's what they want?
Do you think the last 40 years of trade have been good?
Yeah, they have been good.
For the middle class. Have it been good for the middle class, Jessica?
If you're talking specifically about protectionist policies,
I'm talking about jobs
auto
and factories and honor, in the Rust Belt and across the country.
What's more
where
important
people got hammered by cheap
Jesse,
Chinese goods
why are there
and
tens
taken
of
advantage
thousands of manufacturing jobs available? Because people don't want them. That's what folks who are smart about this are saying. We can't have a manufacturing economy. We don't have the workers for it. We don't have the interest in it.
She's talking about a different type of manufacturing. We're not talking about T-shirts. We're talking about aerospace. We're talking about steel. We're talking about automobiles. We're talking about robotics and AI. Those are the types of high-tech jobs.
If you think any American, even the most staunch Trump supporter, is going to be willing to endure some short-term pain, as Trump terms it, yeah, that's not going to happen. People are already folding. There's outrage. Prices are up. China clearly doesn't care, and everybody else does. Even the Fox propaganda outlet, which confronted Leavitt over this exact question, and her response not too great.
That is the party that they now represent. That's fine if that's where they want to be. Do we have an update? I know that there was discussions today regarding trade and tariffs with Japan. I expect that probably a lot of countries are going to be signing deals in the days and weeks ahead. Can you update us?
I don't have an update for you. I actually just left a dinner with the president and Patty Morin and some great faith leaders in celebration of Holy Week. So I haven't checked in with our Secretary of Treasury or Jamison Greer, our United States Trade Ambassador, yet. However, I did run into the Secretary of Treasury, and he told me the meetings were productive and they were moving along, and they were here for quite some time. And the president met directly with one of the trade representatives from Japan because the president wants to be involved in these negotiations and these talks. And I think it speaks volumes about the number of countries we have seen come to the table, reaching out to this administration to cut deals. It's because the entire world knows they need to do business with the United States of America. And China knows that too, Sean. And as President Trump directed me to say yesterday, it remains true tonight. The ball is in China's court. They need to do business with the United States. They need the best thing on the face of the planet, and that is the American consumer. And we are the best place in the world to do business. And the rest of the world knows that, and that's why Japan was here today to negotiate a trade deal.
You can see how flustered she is. Worried, panicked, maybe even starting to realize that her boss once again wrote a check he can't cash. And now we're the ones footing the bill, thanks to his tariffs. China's not calling, and they're not going to. They hold the leverage. This so-called art of the deal guy has yet to seal a deal he can point to as a clear success. He doesn't know what he's doing. I honestly don't know where he thinks the leverage is or why he expects China to play along. Just because they keep saying the ball is in China's court doesn't mean China's planning to return it. China made the ball. It's literally theirs. They don't need to play. And if we tried to import it back, there'd be a 145% tariff slapped on it. So who's even buying that? Maybe I've taken the analogy too far, but honestly, it fits. Anyway, let's shift to someone who isn't rambling incoherently, someone who's still shocked, disturbed, and confused by how we managed to elect the dumbest man in America again. That brings us to Andy Beshear, who, like Gavin Newsom, who recently launched a lawsuit against Trump's tariffs, is stepping up and fighting back. Let's take a look.
It is the Trump tax on the American people. The amount your groceries cost more because of these tariffs is the Trump tax. The amount a new home costs more because of these tariffs is the Trump tax. The amount that gasoline may go up, or the amount that you pay extra in the upcoming holiday seasons, that is the Trump tax. How much harder it is to pay those bills at the end of the month is the Trump tax. And it's hitting everybody. It hits farmers. It hits factory workers. It hits everybody who's trying to go to work a hard day, and support their family. It's bad policy. And again, you don't have to take my word for it. In my state, our two Republican senators, Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul, and this Democratic governor all agree that tariffs are a bad idea. Why? Because Trump's tariffs are a really bad idea.
That's strange bedfellows in politics, as they call it, Governor. Let me ask you about late Friday night, Trump signed an executive order exempting cell phones, computers, semiconductor chips, and other electronics from these reciprocal tariffs. But then this morning, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said this is not like a permanent sort of exemption. I'm not asking you to explain that. I don't know what he means by that. But what do you make of people watching right now, people in your state, what should they make of these exemptions and where it's sort of sits right now? Because that felt like a relief, but I'm not sure that it really is.
Well, the question is, are we dealing with incompetence or corruption? Because you look at the incompetent side, and they've changed their mind 10, 12, 13 times, and look at what the chaos is doing. It is tanking our economy. When the president came into office, our economy was experiencing growth, and it hadn't caught up to people yet, but it was going to. Wages were going up, unemployment was low, and we're seeing all of that turn around, as well as the stock market and people's 401ks taking a really rough hit. That's the incompetence side. These specific exemptions or exceptions, which tend to favor the president's biggest donors, if those are put into place, then we're looking at something much closer to corruption. Either are bad, neither should be happening, and the best move this administration could take is to scrap the whole plan.
Let me ask you, I think that's an important thing to note. A lot of the people who are benefiting from these are CEOs of tech companies who have been huge donors, and suddenly they're getting exempted. Go figure. Let me ask you about Medicaid. This is an issue I think we all have to be paying a lot of attention to. As I understand it, you correct me on the statistics, but as I understand from what I've read, about 28% of people in Kentucky rely on Medicaid, or approximately that. It's really important to your state, so many states. In the Republican budget in the House that they passed, there could be massive cuts to Medicaid, even though they seem to be denying that. What are you preparing for? And if that is part of the package, what impact could that have on the people of your state?
It'll be devastating. Medicaid covers the people we love the most, our parents and our kids. Half of Kentucky's kids are covered by Medicaid. 70% of our long-term care costs are covered by Medicaid. All of our rural hospital systems exist because of Medicaid and expanded Medicaid. Without those dollars, with a massive cut, what we will see is rural health care shut down almost entirely. And then whether you're on Medicaid or private insurance, you're going to have to drive a couple of hours to a big city, probably to see the same doctor who used to live in your community. And what it'll do to all those communities that the president says he's trying to bring jobs back to, that'll be devastating too, because in most of these communities, the largest employer is the public school, and the second largest is the hospital system. What this will do is make our people unhealthier. It will result in devastating jobs losses. The price of health care will go up. I mean, this is something that the American people will see, will feel, and will respond to. And whether it's the tariffs that will make life more difficult, or significant cuts to Medicaid, it's going to leave a lot of people who end up voting for President Trump.
We need more Democratic governors, and in this case for Andy Beshear of a red state, talking about the day-to-day impacts of, like I just said, having the stupidest person in our country run our economy into the ground with no clear exit strategy. What happens if in 24 hours or a week, Donald Trump just packs it up and done with tariffs? What will we have gotten out of this? Seriously, what will Republicans tell us we got out of this? They'll say it was the art of the deal. What deal will have been done? Trillions lost from the stock market prices, raised inflation back. What is the outcome that we so desire to pad Donald Trump's ego? I'm not on board with that, and we're going to call it out. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.